when we were younger, we used to take naps during
Yep.
the day. And when
Yes.
I was in high school, I was like, can we please bring back nap time? Because I'm just so stressed right now.
I know. I don't understand. Like the older we get, we want more naps. Like young kids don't want naps.
Right.
You force them to nap, right? Like my son,
Yeah.
he's in kindergarten. He lost his nap, but when he was in school, he would fight for the nap.
Yeah.
And now as you get older, it's like, no, I want a nap. And you mean to tell me I can't take a nap?
And then they get mad at you when you do take a nap in class,
Yes.
and it's like,
Yes. And then you're at school at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like
right.
it's so education is so interesting.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spruill Spotlight. I'm here with Mr. Justin Williams. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
And it's a pleasure to be here, Kayla. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, my first question that I have for you is just, can you tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so again, my name is Justin, and I work for a agency and alternative school called Lakeside, which is here in Montgomery County, North Wales, Pennsylvania. And I am the director of strategic partnerships, which is a pretty cool job. I get to talk to a lot of people about a lot of different things. But ultimately, my job is to make sure that children who are not successful in their schools, their public schools settings, have an opportunity to attend one of our therapeutic schools. So I meet with school district personnel, teachers, superintendents, directors to talk about what we can do to make sure that students are successful at our schools. And in addition, we also have a great program where we provide mental health counselors in area school districts as well. And so we have about 130 mental health counselors who are social workers or licensed professional counselors who are contracted to help children who are dealing with an array of issues, anywhere from behavior issues down to coping with anxiety and stress. And they meet with students on an ongoing basis. So part of my job is to meet with those school district reps and to make sure that we are offering the best possible service that's out there.
That's amazing. So, your main focus is on children with is it mainly with children who have behavioral issues, or is it for children who also have maybe special needs, or is it just all of that together?
Yeah, it really encompasses all of it together. And it really differs between what school district needs, right? And so when we think about, right, Pennsylvania or Delaware, for example, right, there are many different needs in different areas and different communities. And so one school district may say, yeah, we want you to focus on some of the students who have some negative behaviors right now. There's a lot of disruptions in our classrooms. What can you do to come in and de-escalate and deal with the behaviors? And so we'll try to come in and help with that. And then we also deal with folks at school district may say, we only want you to work with students who are considered special education and have some needs there. And it may even be broken down a little bit more deeply, where it could be emotional support or it could be a learning support need as well. And we will meet with them as part of their IEP as well.
That's great. Now, can you tell us a little bit about of some of the methods that you use to help these kids and to make their educational experience more pleasant?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we have a program here, and I love this program, and this is one of the reasons why I work here. It's called Neurologic, which is a program that or intervention, I should say. Program is wrong, but intervention that we use right here at our alternative schools or therapeutic schools that focuses on getting you in the right brain state. And so our focus in our intervention is saying, hey, let's say you were on your way to work or you're on your way to school, but between you getting to school or to work, mom or dad yelled at you, told you you need to take out the trash, then feed the dog, and then you left your bag at home, and now you're coming into school and you are expected to perform and to take a test and do really well. Well, you're not really in the right brain state, right? And so your mind is so focused on, you may be angry or upset or anxious because or stressed because of all the things that just happened the morning prior, right? And now you're coming into this environment and you can't really focus on this test. And so what we know is you're not going to do really well on that test. And so what we provide is some training and understanding on how then, if now knowing coming into this classroom environment, all these things are happening to you, how do we now get you to be able to relax and be able to shift your focus to where it needs to go? And so we use some really cool techniques and interventions, such as deep breathing is one thing that you can do. We really believe in something called fidgets, which I can never sit still. I feel like I have ADHD sometimes, so my mind is always going. So what I realize about myself, I always have something in my hand. I have a pen, right? I always got to take it off or move it around. And there are a lot of kids, right, who think and have brains just like me, and so we have other things called fidgets that we can then use and spin and keep our minds occupied. We changed the structure of our classroom. So at your desk, instead of you just sitting at a desk with your laptop and everything that's needed, you may have a elastic band at the bottom of your desk that you can be able to kind of kick and keep moving around. And so we look at some pretty cool, innovative, creative techniques to help to get you in the right brain state. So when you are then dealing with that, then you can focus and kind of progress and move on. So neurologic is the name of our intervention in that program.
That's great. Now, are these, now you mentioned that you have a pen to kind of help you to stay focused. Are these some things that you struggled with when you were younger? And is this what kind of inspired you to enter this field?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I think I've always struggle is an interesting word, right? So
Mhm.
I wouldn't consider it a struggle. I was a pretty good student. I was a hardworking student, but things didn't come to me easy. I had to work very hard to achieve, right? There are some people, and you're probably one of those people, Kayla, that you can just go in, learn the material, and then boom, you're a straight A, like you got it. And so I envy people, right, who are like that. Or maybe you're not, you know? But there are people, right? It just comes to them. I consider my wife. She's one of those people. She reads a book, she gets it, boom. You know, for me, it was, I remember teachers used to say, comprehension. Justin, you can read, you're smart, but you're just not comprehending what you're reading. That's because my brain would be going 1,000 miles a minute, right? Like
Mm.
I'm focusing on this or I hear this. And so that was one of the challenges in school. And so I had to learn to then cope with that, right?
Mm.
I never considered it a struggle or an issue. I just, it's just me. I didn't start thinking about this stuff, honestly, Kayla, until I started working here.
Wow.
And yes, and so a lot of my work has been with working with kids who are in foster care, kids who have been removed from their biological homes. And so my company work with children, right, who have been marginalized. Just think about brain states again, right? And so I knew about them and said, oh, this is a great transition to help, still continue to help those children. And so when I got here and then learned more about some of the work that we're doing, I was like, oh man, if I had that when I was in school or tried to understand that, just imagine how much further I would be. So yeah, it's an interesting journey, but it's been a great journey because yeah, I'm still learning about myself today. Yeah, in some of the ways that I interact and do things. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. And I like how you said that it wasn't really a struggle. It was just something that you just noticed and that you didn't notice until you actually started working in that field. And that kind of connects to what I also want to ask about, like, what are some of the lessons you wished you learned earlier in life, and what are some things that you share with the other students so that they don't make the same mistakes you made?
Yeah, that's you have such great questions, Kayla. I love this. Because I wish the adults, the teachers, the people in my life just would have pulled me aside and said, listen, it's gonna be all right. I think a lot of times, as young people, as students, teenagers, right, young adults, um, we have these situations and we can't really see past it, right? And we're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like so life altering, and I'm never going to be able to survive this, and it's crazy. Really, for folks to say, listen, we're going to get through this. You're going to be fine. This is just a part of the process. And so I think helping me to slow down a little bit and to say, hey, let's breathe through it. And for adults to be real, I share with a lot of students that, they look at us professionals and folks and adults and even in church as having us are having it all together. There's
Mm.
this misconception like, oh, look at you, you're good, you got it all together. And I've changed that over the years, like the way that I present. I let folks know adults don't have it all together. We're still figuring it out too, right? We still have questions. We don't know how it's going to end. But what we can do is be honest and transparent and authentic and say, hey, I'm struggling today. Yeah, I'm not in the right brain state today. I'm a little anxious, but I'm going to get through it. And so I think the more that we can be honest and truthful and support each other, I think we can change what we're currently seeing. I think young people need to see more people that look like me, more people that look like you, and saying, yeah, this takes work, but it also takes partnership and it takes us walking this thing out together. So I think community is super important. I hope I answered your question.
Oh no, you did. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I know it took me a while to realize that, that adults, like, they may be, people that we look up to, but they're people too. They mess up,
Yep.
they make mistakes. And
Yes.
um, what are some things that you do to kind of remind the kids that, hey, I'm a person too. I know what you're going through, and I make mistakes too. This is how, what are some things that you do to show them, here's how you can get through this tough circumstance that you might be in.
Yeah, I think part of, and that's why wisdom is such a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
because when you go through situations and you're like, you can easily identify, oh wow, that used to be me. Even if it was 2 weeks ago, like, oh yeah, I was thinking the same way. Wow, that's crazy. And now you get to measure, right, that growth. And so part of what I do, I really try to stay engaged with what young people are experiencing and going through and right and just keep having these conversations, but then being completely honest and showing folks, yeah, I've made those mistakes too. A lot of times I talk to young people who like, oh, Mr. Justin, you got it together. I tell them about my college experience. I made some wild decisions in college. I mean,
Mm.
wild, where my life was on the line. Like, yeah, and no one would know that, right? And you're like, there's no way you would do that. I got in cars with people who were intoxicated, right? Just making decisions for my life that I didn't think was accurate. And so when I talk to someone who all they see, right, are the benefits of wanting to deal in drugs or drinking and doing those things, I try to paint the picture to say, well, look, this is where it could lead you, then understanding why we make some of those decisions. So, again, I just try to remain truthful and honest. And I try to change the language about mistakes, right? Because I think a lot of times people look at it as a deficiency and say, I made this mistake. Now there's a consequence. And that is true. There's consequences to our decisions,
Mhm.
but these are also opportunities to learn. And so I look at it from a growth and strength perspective that says, if I didn't have that experience, if I didn't get involved or make that decision, I wouldn't be who I am today. And so we are just a culmination of experiences and decisions is what makes us today. And we're still learning, right? That's the beautiful thing about life. It progresses. And so each and every day that we're here, we're able to take everything as a lesson, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and turn that into opportunity. And so I try to stay, humble in that mindset that everything is a lesson learned.
And did you always have that mindset, or did it take a while for you to kind of reach a point where it was like, yeah, I made this mistake, but it's a learning opportunity, or did it take a while for you to kind of reach that point?
Oh no, it took a long time and it's taking a long time. So
Mm,
not that I have gotten to that place, yeah, altogether, because there are times I may say something like, why did I say that? And I beat up on myself and I feel bad. And then it's like, wait, this is a lesson learned, or this situation happened. And I think, yeah, over as you get older, as you are evolving in who you are, I think it becomes a little bit more easier to deal with it. But yeah, no, if we were having this conversation even 5 years ago,
mm.
yep, you would probably get a different answer. And so, yeah, always evolving.
And I think that's a good thing too, to recognize that you don't always reach, like, you may reach a certain point of growth, but you're still growing every day. And I
Yeah,
think that kind of helps you to kind of be in a mindset where it's like, I'm not gonna reach this this idea of perfection at this stage in my life and
yeah,
just stay there, but I'm gonna continue to grow and keep growing
yeah,
until, well, till we die, basically, because we're
yeah,
always
yeah,
growing and we're always growing. Um,
yes. And I will
uh,
even say too, it takes off some of that pressure,
it
right?
does, yeah.
Right, you feel that you got to be perfect or have a certain image. When you get to the mindset and begin to think about, well, yeah, wait a minute. I am a being that is evolving and I'm constantly changing. Some of that pressure or that image that I need, no, this is all experiences and I'm learning. And so you can take some of that off. And I think that will kind of help to regulate in some of the anxiety and stress that we deal with just as human beings.
Yeah, and I think that's where positive affirmations also
Mm,
come into play. I know that's something that I try to do every day to kind of remind me,
good.
be my best every day, and
Yeah.
just to be consistent in that way. Now, working in education, we all know that's not easy. What are some of the things that you do to stay motivated and on fire for the work that you do?
Yeah. Yeah, also a great question. So to stay motivated, I think one is to understand the purpose of why I do what I do.
Mhm.
It has been placed in me, right? Because I'm a community driven person and believe that communities need to be together and people need to succeed. I keep that at the forefront of my mind, right? The purpose of why I am doing that. And so, yeah, it's hard and it's taxing, but if I don't do it or if I say no, then who's going to do it, right? And who's going to then help that person? And I wouldn't be where I am if someone didn't help me. And so it's the gift, right, that keeps giving.
Mhm.
I always have to remind myself too, um, to give myself grace in this work. And, as much as it's disheartening sometimes in education or to hear about some of the things that are happening with young people, um, to say, all right, we can't change, right? Rome wasn't built overnight. Don't expect for change to happen overnight either. And so to set appropriate boundaries and expectations. And so one of the things that I love to do, and some people are like, I can't believe you do that, but I'm a huge advocate for making sure that I devote some time for Justin, some time to go to the movies, time to spend with my family and not think about just the work and what needs to happen because that can become overwhelming and the pressures can just take so much. So, yeah, I love to on, maybe a Friday when work is over, hey, I'm going to take myself out and, really enjoy that. And then I'll think about it again on Monday and not allow for those things to overwhelm me. So, really trying to set boundaries as well.
No, that is very important, especially in today's society where pretty much all we do is work and
Yeah.
we don't have time, that time to kind of for self-care, to kind of take care of ourselves
Yeah.
and step back from all that we have to do because eventually we're going to burn out and we won't
Yeah.
have anything left to give.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is very important to kind of at least take at least one day a week or so if you have time to just kind of relax and even reflect on the things that you've done and what you've learned throughout the
Yeah.
whole week.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about burnout.
Hmm.
I've been there where I've devoted my entire self, and then who's the one that ends up crazy crying and right can't be able to manage right the day to day because you are now so overwhelmed and you're like, yo, I'm losing my mind. I feel like I'm going crazy. You're burnt out. You're tired, right? You can't go to sleep. Um, and sometimes it's even overwhelming to think I don't have an hour today to even devote to myself or to go work out. So I've even lessened the amount of time and say, just take a moment. And I don't know when that moment is going to come, but find a moment each day, sometimes each hour. Go for
Hmm.
a 30-second walk, right?
Yeah,
Take a
yeah.
moment. Take a moment to go to the bathroom. Take a moment to get something to drink. And the more that you take those moments, it's small. I read a book called Atomic Habits.
Mm.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but if you um, are not, I would encourage you to get this book. It's amazing.
Mm.
Where Atomic Habits talks about just taking small incremental things like an atom, right? It's so small, and as you develop that over the course of time, those atomic habits will then expand, expand, expand. So instead of making take a whole hour, just take 60 seconds, take
Yeah.
30 seconds, and then what happens from there kind of builds. And so that book really helped me to think a little bit differently about self-care and how I should take moments for myself.
And is that the same thing that you encourage the students to do as well? Because I know that being a student's not easy either, and I'm sure there are a lot of them who are overwhelmed and
Yeah.
are burned out as well. So is that the same thing that you try to teach them?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool things, and I wish you can see our schools, Kayla, because I think you would enjoy it, but our students here, because they're in smaller school settings, if they're in the middle of a lesson and they feel that they need to have a wiggle break or go for a walk or do any of those things, it's encouraged. And so when have you heard about that in the school, right? To say,
Mhm.
instead of asking to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water, they can go say, can I go walk on our track?
Mm.
Sure. Yep. Go walk on your track. Take the 3, 5 minutes to do that. Can I go, talk to my counselor? Absolutely. Do that. No questions asked, right?
Mhm.
But we set the expectation. You can't become the avoidant. Like the lesson is still going to be there. The test
Mhm.
is still going to be there. It's going to get done, but it may take you 2 hours to get it done rather than the 40 minutes that's allotted in like a public school. So, yep,
Yeah.
we encourage those things.
That's really different. And I actually wish they had that in high school. Like I was thinking
Yeah.
about how when we were younger, we used to take naps during
Yep.
the day. And
Yes.
now it's in high school. I was like, can we please bring back nap time? Because I'm just so stressed right now.
I
And
know. I don't understand. Like the older we get, we want more naps. Like young kids don't want naps.
right.
You force them to nap, right? Like my son,
Yeah.
he's in kindergarten. He lost his nap, but when he was in school, he would fight for the nap. And now, as you get older, it's like, no, I want a nap. And you mean to tell me I can't take a
Yeah.
nap?
And then they get mad at you when you do take a nap in class. And it's like,
Yes, and then you're at school at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like,
Right.
yo, education is so interesting. Like, you force me to get up all early. I got to go to all these classes. You're giving me all this homework, and then you tell
Right.
me I can't take a nap or have a break. Yeah, it's interesting.
Now, I'm actually gonna go back to when you were younger.
Okay.
Did you always know what you were gonna do, when you
Mm.
grow up, or did it take you a while to get there?
Yeah, and it's still taking time.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to be. There were two things. I want to be a marine biologist.
Oh,
Yeah, I love killer whales are my favorite animals. And so Free Willy, I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but
wow.
yeah, love
I haven't seen it, but
okay.
I have to see it at one point. It's
Yes, watch the movie, it'll make you cry.
oh,
But yeah, Free Willy was a movie of my childhood that I fell in love with, and I told everyone I was going to be a marine biologist. And so I just thought you go out in the ocean on a boat and you get to look at whales all day. I didn't know how much science and math you needed to take.
mm,
And I was like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not doing that. So
yeah.
that was out pretty quickly. And then I was also in band pretty much elementary school up until college. I was a clarinet player, marching band, symphony. Yeah, and so I played music, and so I knew that I wanted to be a music teacher, and so I actually went to college, um, first semester as a music major, and pretty early on when I was in college, I was like, you know what? This is all I know. That's
Mhm.
everything I know is music. I did it for so many years. I was in all the music ensembles. I want something different. And so I changed my major first semester or second semester, freshman year. And I was like, oh, I took a sociology class and I was like, this is pretty cool. I kind of like this. And so that's how my work started within social work and education. And my journey has been interesting because at certain points, I enjoy sociology. Then I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and I didn't want to be a teacher. And then, but now my path have crossed where I am merging together. My social work career and my education career are kind of united within this organization. And everything that I've learned, again, even if they were mistakes or I didn't get the right degree or anything I wanted, those were all lessons learned to make me who I am today. And guess what? Who I am today may not be who I am next year. And so always reminding myself, yeah, just take every life lesson and kind of keep it moving from there.
Now, being someone who is very guided by their faith, what are some of the things that you do to help remind you that whatever it is you're doing now or in the future, it's all for God's glory?
Yeah. So, yeah, that is probably the number one thing is to remember that I am not in control of my life. And so to relinquish control and to look at, hey, if God allows it, then so be it. And so that's the good, bad, or indifferent. And so I try to have that perspective, and it's through prayer, right? Spending time through prayer and reading the word and just understanding, all right, well, this is where God wants me. Then I got to be okay with that. And so I think it's those pieces that are super important. But then I also have a great village of people and friends that support me and we support each other that even when I'm like, yeah, I don't understand this or I don't like this or this is too much, for them to remind me, like, hold on, we'll encourage you, we'll affirm you, do what needs to happen. And sometimes they'll need to put me in my place and remind me, yeah, of why we are doing what we're doing. And I do the same thing for them. And so I think setting myself up with people who are there to encourage and support, along with prayer and just understanding everything that we do gives God glory and he's the one that's in control. I think about God as like a CEO where I'm like, listen, that's above my pay grade.
Mhm.
There are certain things I ain't even got to worry about because I don't even get paid for that.
Yeah.
We're going to send that to the CEO.
Mhm.
And so having that mind shift, I think is what also helps.
Yeah, and it is important, and I'm just now learning how important it is to have that community around
Yeah.
you to help encourage you and to ask questions because I was the type of person who thought I had to go through all of these things by myself and
Mm-mm.
it's
Yeah.
just me and it took me a while to realize, wait, there are other people here to help me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
need other people here to help me because I can't do this on my own. Um, so yeah, that is very important, and I think it helps to let us know that we have that we're working for something that is much bigger than
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes.
And that's the kind of thing that kind of helps us to, it motivates us to get up every day and
Yeah.
go out and do whatever we do to make the world a better place. And ending on that note, what are some things that you what are some pieces of advice you want to tell people, or what are some things that you want to tell people that you can still make a difference in your community even in the smallest way?
Yeah, I think for people to understand, right, community is a large word that we toss around all the time. But community, the root word, I don't know if it's the root word, but the word unity is in community, right? And so thinking about how can we do things together to make that difference, right? And so if it is picking up a piece of trash that is on your street and then putting it in the trash can, do you understand what you are doing for your community, right? And so not having plastic laying around and you're helping right the earth. Or if it's volunteering because someone has a need, you never know what you may need, right? And so as you think that through, and you don't want to put big or small, all of it is important, right? From the picking up a piece of trash to having a career in public service. Um, I think is to just focus on what we can do for each other. And I think you coined it, Kayla, where you said you can't do life alone. It's
Mm,
not designed for us to be alone. It's not appropriate for us to be alone. We need each other, and that is everyday relationships are super important. And so for folks to know to keep going, connect with others. There, somebody has the story that you have. Someone
mhm.
can sympathize with you and empathize with you and understand where we're coming from. It's about how do we connect because there's strength in numbers. So it's all about relationships, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm still learning how even just how to open up to different people, and how there might be someone out there who you may not have all the same interests, but you can still
Yeah.
help them in some way, or
Yeah.
because we have different people that are placed in our lives for a reason.
Yes.
So, I mean, we may not agree on the same things, but we may still be able to help them, and even add things to their life that we might not have thought about before. So, yeah, that is very, very much important. I think that's the end of all the questions that I have for you. Are there any questions you have for me? Is there any last things that you want to share?
Yeah, no questions, but what I will share, Kayla, what you are doing is amazing. And I
Thank you.
think never take it for granted, right? You don't know where this will go and who will it will touch and what how it will change someone's life. And so thank you, right, for being able to do this. And you've encouraged me, right, to even think a little bit more creatively in terms of what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, wait, I need to get me one of these podcasts and begin to pull people together because this is amazing. So I want you to be encouraged. And the sky is the limit. So, right, if there are any help you need or any of those things, I'm here as a resource, but yeah, keep doing what you're doing because this is definitely needed.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.